Hi there, folks. This is John Fairhurst again with my review of A World of Difference by Harry Turtledove, originally published all the way back in 1990. This particular edition is from New American Library. The book is both an alternate history and a science fiction story. The major point of departure from our home reality in this story lies all at the beginning creation of the solar system, one of, if not the earliest, points of departure I've ever seen. Rather than the fourth planet being Mars, just outside that magic Goldilocks zone where life as we know it can survive relatively comfortably, we have Minerva, a few million kilometers inside that zone, so that life of some form could come into existence. So throughout its existence, humanity has been aware that there is at least one other planet with life on it. The book doesn't really go into the implications of this back in Earth's prehistory, or how it's doesn't really go into this background and how it may have changed various aspects of society on Earth directly, though it doesn't appear to have made it any more peaceful or any wiser, unfortunately. This reality's equivalent of the Viking mission is where the book opens with a prequel sequence of the lander coming down on Mars, on Minerva, sorry, and that's the main as a prequel event to the main story. Life was a given, intelligent life was a surprise, but the creature that took an axe to destroyed the probe. Sorry, but the creature that destroyed the probe almost as soon as it had been deployed its cameras was undeniably a tool user, as it took an axe to the intruding machine, thereby destroying it. Right. The ensuing scramble to be first to Minerva to have boots on the ground of this bluey-green planet was intense, and this is where we become aware of a second change from our timeline. The Soviet Union was still a going concern, more than a decade after it had come crashing down in our reality. There is a mention of President Gorbachev having suffered a brain aneurysm, and a character wondering whether this had been entirely a natural event. Excuse me. This basically means that there's still plenty of Cold War paranoia and competition to drive the story. Both the American and Soviet missions consist of 6 people, with the Americans being made up of 3 couples, and the Soviets having 5 men and a single woman, presumably the best in their specialties. And one of these specialists is also doubling up as a KGB agent. I loved the Minervans. The first thing that really came to mind when I read the description was the Hydra. That's Cnidaria hydrozoa. Apologies for the pronunciations here. That can be found in some freshwater streams. Freshwater, though a lot larger, of course. Minervans themselves are hexagonally symmetrical with 6 legs, arms, and eyes. This basically making the concept of front and back pretty meaningless. They also have the ability to widen themselves, which they use as a sign of respect, and are able to change their colours depending on the mood, which is somewhat under their control. Minerva and the Minervans are also very cold by Terran standards, habitability being a relative issue. Temperatures are averaging around about, with average temperatures in the Antarctic ranges, and ice becomes a usable construction material for most of the year, although the Minervan characters end up coming across at least as warm-hearted as the strangers appearing in their midst from the stars. Most of the book deals with how the teams interact with the Minervans they appear amongst. The American Minervans are basically at a feudal level of society, while the Soviet Minervans are proto-capitalists, which allows Turtledove to have some fun as the Soviets justify helping their Minervans. The mixed-sex American team are a shock in their own respects to the Minervans, for Minervan mates don't survive the birthing process and are generally treated as pretty much like children. They have 6 budlings, 1 male and 5 mates. Anyway, each of the teams and Minervan groups are separated by an even deeper version of valors, marinaries, which regularly gets swept each spring in a massive flooding event. The Americans, or at least their medic, reckon that the mates can be saved from bleeding out after the budding process, and they persuade their boss, Minervan, to trial their procedures so they can try and save his favourite mate. The Soviets are in an even trickier position when they find that their Minervans are in the process of setting up an invasion of the lands where the American Minervans live. At first, they take the high road and just document the processes that the Minervans are undertaking. But when the Soviet leader of the invasion forces sees what an AK-47 can do, he first off tries to buy it. Then when that doesn't work, forces the Soviets to act on their behalf, which forces the Americans to support their Minervans, and again this causes eruptions back on Earth. But again, this is indicated more in messages rather than actual going back to Earth and seeing any details there. Turtledove manages to keep a light tone throughout most of the book, although it's more of a mocking tone when dealing with the Soviets, though quite a lot of the events in the book are quite serious if you think about them properly. Another thing that's a pleasant change to some of his better known story arcs is that the limited number of Terran characters means that he has to stay focused on these people and keep most of the activity relatively localized. He's also not afraid to give the Minervans some of the best plot lines and allowing them to show that the primitive does not mean stupid. If you've liked this review and would like to read the book, please read the description below for links to the book via my Amazon.com. Oh dear. My Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk affiliate links. This allows me to gain a little bit of money from them without costing you any. You'll also notice that the selected links are both paperbacks. For some reason, Amazon.com doesn't allow me to create links to Kindle books. Anyway, if you've liked the review and want to hear more, subscribe and don't forget to click the like button either. Comments welcome. Thank you very much and goodbye.